Hey guys, Kody, and just a quick editing note here. This is technically the second episode we recorded. However, the first episode, I lost my audio. So we're going to go ahead and make our second episode, this first episode. So when you hear us calling back to the first episode, it doesn't exist. And yeah, sorry about that. Anyway, here's episode 2. Whatever.
Welcome to the DSQ podcast with Blake Lawson and Dakota Reynolds.
Alright, and from the last episode on to something more, I don't know, fun, I guess. I was like, not that, recounting all the craziness in the F1 season, off-season, I guess, isn't fun, but I figured, why not try to find a way to gamify the F1 season, other than, obviously the standings and, which team's gonna win it all. So I actually took some inspiration from a YouTube channel called Chainbears. Absolutely go follow his stuff. Fantastic guy to explain all of the technical stuff behind Formula One. But he's...
We'll put his links in the description if we remember.
If we remember. I will try to remember
Spoiler, we probably won't.
But he used to do, up until last year, a prediction series on, certain events happening within the season, and used to make just a fun little game about it with a few different Formula One YouTube talking heads. And while we're not going as in-depth as they previously did, I figured, let's see what fun stuff we can come up with for this year, between, things that should have an obvious answer to things that really should have had an obvious answer, but really did not, that may have already shot something on this little prediction checklist thing I'm gonna do.
Thanks, Lewis.
Thanks, Lewis. You're the best. Don't call you 7-time world champ for nothing. So yeah, with that being said, I feel like it is time to get into our predictions. Starting with question number 1. Will we have a Chinese Grand Prix this year? Because as you know, as of COVID, we really have not had a Chinese Grand Prix since the lockdowns and restrictions and everything happened. But it's on the schedule again this year, even though it was on the schedule last year, but they canceled it because restrictions were still going on.
For record, since I have been watching and following Formula One, there has not been a Chinese Grand Prix. That is how long it has been.
It's a funnish track. It leads to some interesting scenarios, but yes, it's been a track that has been sorely missing from the calendar. Well, from our TV screens for the past few years. And I went with, I think we will have a Chinese Grand Prix this year. I think, I think the COVID has tamed a little bit in China. I feel like they might be willing to let this happen this year. It seems like they are allowing more, I guess, multi-thousand viewer sports and stuff to happen. So, I went with, yes, we should have a Chinese Grand Prix this year.
I have also put yes, because I feel like last year we kind of already knew at this point that it was probably not going to happen. And like I said, whether not taking it, kind of be like that, like not that COVID is gone, but it is definitely at a more controllable state. I think F1 really pushed for it because I really think they want that real 24 race season that we didn't get last year. So that was my logic. I was like, I think if it wasn't going to happen, we would probably already have a pretty good rumor that it wasn't happening at this point.
I didn't ask this one, but do you think we're going to hit all 24 races this year?
Ooh. with some of the races moving around, I guess it would be possible to lose one. Not to go off topic, but that was the thing with Imola was when that one was called off. They're like, it was damaged enough where it could affect multiple seasons. I haven't heard anything like that so far, but I think they will try their damnedest to make sure we have to get that 24 season in there.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they're going to give it a shot, but we'll see. Okay, moving on to next question. Who is going to be the first DNF during a race? And this can be during the sprint race or during the full race. And I guess I should also explain the point system a little bit. It's on a 200 max point system. Most questions are maximum 10 points. I think all questions are maximum 10 points, actually.
It's like there are 20 questions.
There are 20 questions. Okay, so max is 10 points per question.
Yep.
Great that I remember all of this. Fantastic. But in the event of this question, who is the first DNF during a race, I did put that you will get 10 points if you have the correct answer. However, you will still get 5 points if you do get the correct team. So, for example, if you chose Red Bull for some reason and you said, specifically Checo's going to be the first DNF, but Max Verstappen somehow was the first DNF, you would still get 5 points for that. So a lot of these are built in mind with, a little bit of leeway. That way it's not just divisible by 10, this is 100% your score. There's some leeway built into it.
Including question 17, which literally is bigger than the spreadsheet would allow me to put into a cell. Do you want me to go first? Do you want to alternate?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay. The first DNF I'm putting is, it hurts me, but I really think it's going to happen, is, unfortunately, I think it's going to be Valtteri.
Oh, Valtteri.
I think, and that's not, I don't think it's going to be Crash. I think it's just going to be some Sauber failure. I don't know. It's just a feeling I got, which is going to be funny when we get to the question 6.
I was already looking at this, so that's wonderful.
Yeah, I'm going with the kick steak grilled cheese car of Valtteri Bottas.
I also went with a heartbreak for me. I said that it was going to be Charles Leclerc. I really think, and on the topic of team magic, I really think that Ferrari are going to give him something that is either undrivable for the first race, or they're going to come up with some boneheaded strategy that puts him out on the wets in the middle of Bahrain. But
I've seen this one before.
I've seen this one before. What do you mean? It's brand new. I said Charles is going to be our first DNF of the season. As much as it pains me to do so, I think it's going to be him. And I really feel like that's just Charles' luck at that point.
Yep. He said it. Why are we so... what was it? Fuck, why am I so damn unlucky or something?
Yeah. Oh my god. That had as much heartbreak potential as just the no scream. Ugh. All right. Moving from the heartbreak to maybe a little less heartbreak. So next question is, how many race, and this is sprint and full race, so more than 24 options here. You'll have, I think it's up to 30 you could get winners do we have in 2024? And I put this one as a 1 to 10 point question based on your proximity of your answer to the correct answer. So, for example, if you guessed there are going to be 4 race winners, and there are, in fact, 6 race winners, then you will get 8 points awarded to you because the difference is 2 there.
Right up.
So I said that the teams are really going to have innovated over this offseason. I think there are going to be 5 distinct race winners in the F1 season. I don't, at the moment, remember who they are, but I figured at least 5 different ones. I was like, we only had, what, 3 last year? 2, 3?
4. Because this is where it got
fair.
Yeah, because we had Oscar get a P1 in a sprint.
You're correct. I didn't include the sprint races in that figuring. So maybe not as much innovation as I thought they were going to do, but I feel like there, at the very least, there's going to be a lot of competition between top teams.
Gotcha. So I went a little into sort of detail with mine. So I said 6 different race winners. But I broke it down in 2 bespoke GP. So that means two people that have just won the GP. They did not win the sprint. 2 that have won just the sprint and not a GP, and then the other 2 that win both the sprint and the GP. If that makes sense, how I broke that down.
I think I've got what you're saying.
Yeah, i.e., a bespoke sprint winner being Oscar, a GP winner being Carlos, and then Max winning both the sprint and the GP. So that's what I'm saying. 6 and in that breakdown.
Gotcha.
And for not extra points, I'm just a nerd.
Yeah, no, I definitely have an answer to in here that has extra stuff that's not part of the prediction, but hey, this is just some extra like flavor text that I put in. Okay, so with the, as mentioned before, moving around of the races, I did ask, will it rain during the Japanese Grand Prix? Because that has been something that has plagued quite a few Japanese Grand Prix here in the past, on top of almost killing Pierre Gasly.
Yeah.
And for clarification, this is a 10-point yes or no, like either you get it or you don't question.
So I wasn't sure if because I kind of thought of this, because by the time we're recording, this is probably a month or 2 old from when these questions when we first did these questions. So in kind of keeping it with the blind thing, I didn't research like what is Suzuka's weather in March. So I was like, no, it's different. They moved it for a reason. I know they moved it for logistics, but I'm sure they looked at that. So I'm going to say no rain during the Japanese Grand Prix. And I assume that was specifically for the race itself and not for any qualifying or other sessions? Or is that the entire event?
I put during the Grand Prix, so I'm going to count that as just the race. Like, just the race, the full course race, nothing extra, just the race. I also did not go through the research of like, hey, what is their weather pattern? What is their climate during the, like, I just went off of, yeah, they moved it. So I also said no for that. That, we're going to have a dry Japanese Grand Prix. Everything's going to be fine. Pierre Gasly's going to live to fight another day. We're all going to be good.
I was like, it's going to be a tractor. It's going to be Checo. It's one of the 2.
Yeah, no kidding. Good grief. You'd think we would learn by now, but jeez. Okay, moving on.
On a lighter note.
Yeah, on a lighter note, but also on a slightly depressing note. Next question was the team that we thought was going to have the most DNFs. And this is once again just a blanket 10 points for getting the right answer. You're going to hate me, but I said that it was going to be the Stake F1 team, Kick Sauber, Alfa Romeo, Audi, AMX, Puma. Yeah, I put it was going to be Stake, Sauber, whatever you want to go with. I have not heard a lot of development talk from them, which, to be fair, this was still very early when we did this, but they have a long way to go, and I feel like their reliability issues were a huge problem for them this last year, and I feel like it is going to continue to be a problem for them this year.
So for me, actually, maybe I should have gone first because I had a good segue of, speaking of Pierre Gasly, I have Alpine, and not based on mechanical failures. I think they are just going to continue like they did this season and keep wrecking into each other.
You know what? You do drive an excellent point on that, because they have not a great track record of staying out of each other's way.
Yep. So I'm gonna go. I think they'll have some mechanical, maybe, or some some punctures or stuff. But I think it's gonna be Alpine. I think it's gonna be some, maybe not 100% exclusively friendly fire, but I think it's definitely gonna contribute.
Alpine being Alpine. that oh no. I feel like I have some competition on that question. That's going to be fun. Alrighty. Well, in the hopes for DNFs, my next question was, what do we think is going to be the first Red Bull DNF of the season? And I'll be honest with you, I kind of forgot where this is at in the season, so I'm gonna have to quickly stealth pull this up while you go ahead and go.
Well, if it's the same answer as mine, I'll tell you the round, which is round 3. I'm saying Australia. Given the track record of last year, again, I don't think it'll be mechanical. It could be, but I think it's just going to be a little. I think things just got a little too squirrely last year, and I don't think they've learned their lesson.
Well, Max is.
I'll be honest. I think it's going to be Checo, but.
Yeah,
it could be Max.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm saying Australia in round number 3, Albert Park.
All right. I actually have went a step above you. I said that it was going to be round 2, in Saudi Arabia, and I think I remember my reasoning for this. I genuinely think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a either a Lewis Hamilton or George Russell involvement in it. I think either one of them are going to send it in a way, either turn 1 lap 1 or turn 2 lap 1, that is going to drive it straight into a Red Bull, and that's going to be our first DNF of the year for them, and it might be our only DNF of the year for them, but we will see.
Yeah. You just turned in on me.
You just turned in on me. Ugh.
All right, so both going early.
Never change, George Russell. Never change. Yes, both early on that. That's we're gonna get this completely wrong, and they're gonna be there until Coda. I can already see that now. All right, I guess it's time to rip off this Band-Aid. So once again, this was put together and answered well before the time that we're recording this. Like, we're talking month or 2 in advance. So I asked who the driver was going to be that kicks off silly season, because I knew a lot of drivers were going to have contract expiries in 2024. So I figured surely there'll be some change mid-season or something like that. Little did I know that someone was seeing red.
Lewis motherfucking Hamilton.
So this question, I believe, is already shot. I think we both agreed with each other that this question is already shot. But for the record, and the way that I worded this, of course, was kicking off silly season is being signed to a different team, being released from your current team, whatever. The first person to do that. And I said you would get 10 points for your correct answer. You would get 5 points for having the person on the same team as the person who kicks off the silly season. I said that it was going to be Checo, because I concluded, everyone's vying for that Red Bull seat. They're going to make their decision mid-season, and then that's going to kick off all of the craziness. And boy, was I wrong.
All right, see, I haven't played it safe and kind of went with a kind of safer and lower end bet. I just said Logan out, failing to score points before the summer break.
That is a very likely thing to happen, but man, it might have been a better chance than mine ever so slightly, but I mean, it really doesn't matter now. So at this point, that now drops our max points that you can get to 190, because that question is already done. Like, we've already gotten our answer on that.
Maybe it's a bonus question of if whatever we predicted does happen, we can get bonus points.
Yeah, sure. We'll look at that at the end of the year. I was like, we'll tack that in there and figure that out before we really get into the season. So next, few days or whatever. Okay. So, we leave the craziness for a little bit of hope. I asked, do we get a Ferrari win this year? And this was for the full race only, no sprint races. And it was a 10-point yes or no question. If you get it, good. If you don't, nothing.
And just in spite, just to rub it in to Matt from P1, no, I chose yes. Of course they're going to get a win. Ferrari has an okay car that fails sometimes. They have some questionable strategy, but they can still get the win. Carlos proved it in Singapore last year. Carlos would have probably proved it in Vegas if a manhole cover didn't destroy the bottom half of his car and his ass.
Again, I'm blaming Formula One for that one because they had the opportunity to say, hey, you're fine to be where you were and not have this penalty affect you. But, whatever, I guess.
What is force majeure anyway?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Ferrari's definitely going to get a dub in there.
Absolutely do I think Ferrari's going to win. And this, again, maybe a little biased. I am not a full Ferrari fanboy, as the aforementioned Matt from P1 is. But I am a pretty big fan of Ferrari. I enjoy seeing them do well. I genuinely think that they are going to at least win a race this year. If it's just a single one like last year, so be it. But I think they will have a victory this year. And I put a little smiley face about that because I was so happy that I thought that they were going to have a win.
I was like, I just put yes in all caps.
To
be fair, all my yes no's were in all caps though, so
we're going to continue on the hope train. My next question was a slightly political one, but not in the sense of, who's right, who's wrong, etc., etc. I asked, will Russia either lose or pull out of the Ukraine war before the end of the season, which will be marked by the checkered flag at Abu Dhabi's full race? It was yes or no question, 10 points for the correct answer. I have hope. I have hope that they will either... something's going to happen to cause it to be done with, or that they will just unequivocally figure, okay, we've lost this, and pull out of Ukraine. I say yes, they will lose or pull out of Ukraine before this season is finished.
I said no. For the face, and this is obviously a Formula One podcast, not a politics / military strategy podcast. I think I feel like knowing the player, we won't get specific about it. Knowing the players involved, I don't think somebody's going to admit defeat, even though they've clearly lost. So, I think that's what it is. I think there's an ego too big on one side, and with that ego comes how do I want to say this? A nonchalance about just throwing more literal people at the problem until. So, that being said, to bring into the F1, no, I don't think we're going to have a Russian GP at the Sochi Autodrome anytime soon.
Two very legitimate answers, though. I was like, it definitely could go either way. Again, not a political podcast, but I thought, why not? I was like, it's got a little connection to the racing, so the same way that you put it. I was like, why not?
Yep. Again, another race I have not seen happen because of when I started watching the sport. So
now, let me tell you, the last time it happened was a blast. Poor Lando. Alright, so as we reach the midway point in this prediction list, we reach what should be the midpoint in the season, but is not. It is unfortunately just the last race before the summer break. I asked who is going to be the winner of the Belgian Grand Prix at Spa-Francorchamps. Once again, a 10 point for the correct answer, or 5 points if you get the correct team.
And the winner of the Belgian Grand Prix will be the Pirelli wet tires. No, it's good. It's Max Verstappen. That's what I put. It's Max. It's Max. It's the inevitable Max Verstappen.
Inevitable. I like the stoic defeatism on Max is going to win every race this year. There's no ifs, ands, or minus like however many were in your prediction. I guess minus.
Well, no, he's proven. I mean,
4 or 5.
Spa. He's gonna be. It's a race he likes. It's also near his. It's in that. To me, it's in that group. Like you got Zandvoort, you got the Hungaro, you got Red Bull Ring. All that's just Forte. It's in that group. I feel like it's just another waiting. Just another one for Max to drive through, get a win, move on next. And we've proven the rain doesn't necessarily stop the Red Bull as much as we play it up.
Oh no, it doesn't. It's like it definitely stopped someone in the past, but I went a little bold and said it wouldn't stop them this year. I think, and I don't think this will be his first. I think he will have already won at this point. I think little Lando Norris. I think that he's going to win it. I base this solely off of couple years ago, him having just an absolutely flying time on qualifying in the wet, and of course, he lost it. He went into the wall. It was a little scary. I feel like Lando has a familiarity with this track. I feel like he likes this track, and I think the performance gains between 2 years ago and now with McLaren will be enough for him to win the Belgian Grand Prix.
I was like, even though it was against my prediction, I definitely wouldn't mind that. I definitely want to see. Let me read through. I don't think it's like a further question, but I think this is definitely the year Lando finally gets a win.
Yeah, no doubt. Like I said, I think this is not going to be his first of the year. I think he's going to have maybe one or two more before this. And then speaking of, well, not necessarily winning. I guess that doesn't. I tried to go for the segue there. It didn't happen. So I wanted to know what we thought was going to be the highest placing Spanish driver at the Spanish Grand Prix. Now, note this was strictly Spanish, not speak Spanish. This is Spain Spanish. So your choices are basically just Sainz and Alonso. 10 points for the correct answer. Bish bash bosh. I said Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari was going to be our top Spanish driver in the Spanish Grand Prix. Based on nothing more than hopes and dreams that Ferrari won't be a complete disaster this year.
See, it's a good choice, but I went for El Plan. It's got to be
El Plan,
the Lion,
the TikTok master.
Yeah, I chose Fernando. I think Fernando is disappointed how the end of the season went, and of last season, he's going to be fighting even harder than he was in that Aston Martin this season.
Oh, no doubt about that. I completely agree with that. No doubt. But yeah, no, I will agree to disagree with you on it. I think Ferrari will have finally, learned at least a singular lesson. And I think that he will have that drive to win his home Grand Prix.
Watch before they both, like, one of them gets sick and gets replaced with another Spaniard, and we both at that point gets invalidated too.
God, man, fate has a funny way of proving us wrong. On a related note, I also asked immediately afterwards what the highest placing British driver at the British Grand Prix was going to be. extra option here. You know, you got 3 choices to choose from between Hamilton, Norris, and Russell. Once again, 10 points for the correct answer.
Like we just said, it's going to be the year he gets his first win. At least he's probably going to do pretty good. McLaren has closed the gap. We hope they keep it up. I'm going with Lando. I'm not saying he's getting P1 in this race, but I think he's for sure going to podium it.
You know what? I am very cool with that answer. Again, I am here for the Lando Norris year of dominance. I'm here for it 100%. I'm looking at my answer, and I feel like this is the point in the answering of these that I might have been smoking crack. I mean, no, disrespect to the man. I said George Russell. I mean, I guess if he doesn't immediately take himself out of the race, then he stands a chance. But I'm a little confused with myself right now. I feel like Lando was definitely the better option, at least between the two. But okay, I guess I picked Russell, and I'm gonna stick with that answer. That's just gonna be it.
If you change it before the episodes, before we finish talking about the question, I'm fair with it. If you want to swap.
Nope, I'm going to commit to it. I was like, Russell's going to be the highest Britain in the race. Done.
All right. Next question.
Next question.
Locked in.
Next question was a funky one, but I thought that it would be a fun one nonetheless. Give me the Monaco podium positions. So you will get 3 proximity base points for each person, including if they're not even on the podium. So for example, if you say that George Russell finishes 3rd, but he finishes 4th, you'll still get 2 points off of that. Goes either direction, however. If you somehow nail it perfectly, you will get an extra bonus point for a correct answer, which is how I kind of cheesed it so you could get 10. But, we're in... Yeah. Anyways.
Thanks, Lewis.
Yeah, Monaco podium positions. So I went with... And I'm going to pray that I'm not going to jinx this man, because he has enough awful, terrible luck at this place as it is.
Oh, no.
But I went with Charles Leclerc finally winning a Monaco Grand Prix in P1. I put that Ferrari had a little bit of extra dominance this year, and Max will place P2, and that Checo will finish P3.
Okay.
I feel like most of this was purely just on Ferrari fanboyism, but I feel like the man's due a win here. He had this past year, which didn't quite pan out for him, but I feel like this is the year. This is our year. This is not the first time that I've said that in the past month, even.
Oh man. Okay, I'll start with the counterpoint of: do you remember the qualifying? Max and Fernando battling out one of the most interesting qualifiers of the season. So I've gone, of course, P1, Max Verstappen.
Good choice.
P2, Chuck Leclerc. I do have it learned as Chuck on my sheet. And then P3, Fernando Alonso.
Fernando!
I think Charles will do it, but I think Ferrari's just going to fail him just enough to not get that P1.
Yeah.
And of course, Max and Fernando have proven that this track can be absolutely mental when they put their mind and metal work into it.
Yeah, so. I mean, that's a completely respectable lineup. I was like, Max is definitely the dominant driver in the sport right now. I think Charles is due a win here. I think he's due a dub, and I think this is going to be the year. moving on to some more hopium. I asked, will all teams score at least 1 point? Because we had that this year. We haven't always had that. But, yes or no, 10 points for the correct answer. Will all teams competing this year, thanks FOM, will all of them score at least 1 point?
I have said, despite me going over in the last episode how Haas barely did it, I am saying yes, that all teams will score at least 1 point. I think Haas will still do some of their qualifying trickery and get some points in there. I think Yuki is odd. I mean, this may be, fandom, copium. I think Yuki can do it. I think Danny Rick can do it. I think Logan needs to get there for his own sake. So I think we're going to get it. And even if not Logan, Alex will outscore him 3-1 anyway. So
yeah, very fair. I also said yes. We had it happen this past year. I think with the improvements that teams will have made, fingers crossed that they made improvements. I feel like with the improvements made, I think that once again we will have all teams score at least 1 point. On top of also still having, 6 sprint races to contend with, which will all have points up for grab for them for 1st through 8th places in reverse order, getting that many points, i.e. 1st, 8th, 2nd gets 7, so on. Everyone's got to get at least 1. Surely. Not every driver, but at least every team will have 1 point. Surely. All right. On from that. Speaking of Haas, how many DNFs are they going to have this year? This one was proximity based points, so whatever your answer is, in proximity to the correct answer, you'll get the difference in points. Difference removed from 10 in points. I said, and this is combined, of course, so this is, each driver or whatever. I feel like I went kind of conservative here, and I said that they were going to have 7 DNFs. And granted, this is, this is, did I say, I did not say whether this is including sprints or not. Did you base yours off of including sprints? I will base it off of that.
I don't think I did, because DNFing in a sprint is kind of rare. So I didn't really think about it. I don't recall thinking about sprints when I was thinking of that number.
Okay. So 40 opportunities for them to have DNFs. I said they would have 7, so less than a quarter of the opportunities.
So I did this before I did the Haas research I talked about in the previous episode. Mm-hmm. But I came up with the same number. I said 8, which was the same they had in 2023. So I said they're going to have 8 DNFs between the two of them. I dropped a quarter. Whoops.
Fair enough. I was like, 1 between the two of us, so we'll know very quickly where we're at once they start rolling in. That'll be fun.
Unfortunately, we can know by round 4 if we're going to be off or not. Which, given some of the statements by the new race principal, we may be very conservative in our guesses.
Yeah, we may have understood this
seems to be
just a little bit. All right, so now for some real fun. I wanted to know what we thought our biggest shocking prediction was going to be. And this one was purely just make a wild prediction, and you will get 10 points if it comes true.
I kind of wish I was going second on this one, but are you ready?
Should you be going second? Or did I? No, I did go first on the last one, so it is you. Fair enough.
Yeah, I'm evens. Yeah. All right, and this may be a little copium too. Yuki Tsunoda will be on the podium while driving a Red Bull, filling in for Checo, who is sick.
Oh, look at you! Wow. Okay. At first I thought we were really similar, but I was like, you went the extra mile, so fair enough.
Specifically, Yuki in a Red Bull filling in for a sick Checo to get a podium. I'm not saying one, but he's going to get up there.
Fair enough. I did go a similar route. Not in the whole someone's replacing someone. I said that Williams Racing Team will return to the podium this year.
All right. Yours seems way more doable than mine does.
It does seem more doable. It's still going to be a slog, and it could definitely be one of those situations. I feel like it has to be one of those situations where like half of the grid DNFs. But I think Williams is going to end up on the podium this year. I also said it's not part of the prediction. I think it's going to be Alex.
Yeah.
I think Alex will be on the podium. No disrespect to our fellow American, but Logan, my man, you gotta show some improvement this year, especially if you want to keep that seat. All right. I think at this point we've hit the fun part of it, and then the very end is just the basic stuff. So, Moving on from the shocking prediction, I presented a question that I deemed last place, last race. And this one had very particular stipulations. I said that, first and foremost, sprints do not count in this. So it is purely the full race. I wanted the driver who will finish in last place, and they finish in last place in the last race of the season. So that means DNFs do not count. If someone, I'm just going to blanket say if someone DNFs, they're no longer tracked in that. I think even if they technically, qualify, they race the amount of race that they were supposed to get credited for that position. If they DNF'd, doesn't count. If for some reason that Abu Dhabi is canceled, then that determination will fall back to Qatar, then Vegas, so on and so forth, until it's the actual last race of the season. I wanted to be extra particular on this. But yeah, I figured it would be a little bit fun with that. There are 10 proximity-based points, i.e. the person that you pick, whatever place they finish in relation to last place in the last race. But if your driver DNFs, DNSs, DSQs, whatever, you get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir. And man, did I pick someone who really has not had the best time of it. I said that last place, last race was going to be Esti Bestie, Esteban Ocon.
Esti Bestie.
Esti Bestie. I think that I feel like there will be. I feel like it's going to be Abu. It's going to be Abu Dhabi. I feel like the cars are going to be at the point in the season where the teams are just retire the car, done with it. I feel like there's going to be like 5 or 6 retirements for that reason. And I feel like Esti Bestie's going to be sitting in like 13th, 14th place. And that will be last place in the last race.
See, I wasn't really thinking about all the cars DNFing before that. I was just thinking who's gonna be last place.
I mean, who's gonna be last?
And I went with Kevin Magnussen.
Okay, Mag. Okay. I can see that. I was like,
I feel like he even last season wasn't great throughout the season, but degraded towards the end. So that's kind of the feeling I got.
I can see that. I was like, with that lead up, I thought we were going to go into American slander again.
No. Nope, because, I mean, depending if other previous predictions came through, Logan wouldn't be there. So.
All right. So moving on from that, we enter our end of season awards, which are Overtake Awards, Constructor winner, and Drivers' Championship winners. For the Overtake Award, I said only if it's tracked this year. So if that's a thing that they're tracking, cool. It'll be 10 points for the correct answer. Just period. I was like, no 5 points for the correct team on that one. Just 10 points for the correct answer. If they don't track that, question's invalidated, and we're just not going to do it. As much as I love the sport, I'm not doing that stat work. Fuck you.
I was going to say, to quote what it says on there, I'm not doing that stat work. Fuck you.
Yeah. So, who will have the most overtakes in the season? And that is not an even question, so that is me first.
Is it?
Is it? It's like 20 questions.
18?
Oh, it is even. God. Sorry. A full day of work brain.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was just getting some dramatic pause before I revealed, of course, because he's gonna do it. He's gonna do a pit stop. He's gonna get the places. He's gonna do the pit stops. He's gonna do the places. He's gonna start further back than he deserves. It's Alexander Albon.
Okay. All right. I'm here for that.
I think he's gonna move that Williams through that pack. Maybe not to first, but he's gonna do it a couple times. He's gonna get some overtakes.
It's a very respectable answer. I think so. If I remember correctly, my line of thinking on this was, I think Alex is very much in the realm of winning the Overtake Award. But I think that he's going to do well enough this year that he will be starting further up the grid and will not have as many opportunities for it. I think a driver that will be starting further towards the back, but has shown that he has excellent racecraft and that he will full send it if he needs to, is Danny Rick. I think that
Fair.
Daniel is going to... It's still the Toro Rosso. It's still the AlphaTauri that it was last year, maybe with a few extra bells and whistles. It wasn't that great. They did not qualify well most of the times, and if they did, they immediately got shot to the back. I think he's got that dog in him. I think Daniel will have the most overtakes this year.
It's a parasite from all the shoeies.
Yeah, that dog in him only because that's a little bit of foot fungus, but you know. Yeah, I think it'll be Danny Rick.
I have probably, again, more copium. I have a little more hope in I guess I'll say it right once this podcast, the V-Carb. Because honestly, didn't they say they're just taking the RB19 and repainting it?
Oh God, you're right, aren't you?
But
either way.
Hey, I'll be happy if I am wrong and it is Danny Rick, because I am an AlphaTauri fan.
All right. The two big ones, and it's just the obvious ones. Winner of the Constructors' Championship. Obviously, there's no, extra little bit of where you could get half points or whatever. This is just who is going to be the winner of the Constructors' Championship. Now that I think about it, I probably could have done proximity-based points on this. I'm not going to do that because it's already written out and I don't want to have to change anything. So, I thought, much like I did earlier, this is going to be our year. I think that while Max may or may not, hint, hint, dominate this year, as he always does, I think Ferrari will be solidly second and third place for most of this season. I think Ferrari is going to be your constructor champions. Which I feel is a
You have a lot more
very
faith.
bold prediction, but...
Yeah, that should be your crazy prediction.
Well,
Because even with the changes they made, it doesn't seem like Ferrari is that strong enough and that reliable enough. Again, I wouldn't be mind proven wrong, because I went with the safe and obvious thing of it's going to be another Red Bull constructor 3 years in a row for the constructor, excuse me.
I mean,
2 years in a
surely
row.
not, right? Surely.
I mean, we proved it was Max could do it by himself last year. And if Checo wants to keep his seat, he's got to perform. So that means that Red Bull, for Checo's sake, Red Bull needs to win the Constructors' Championship.
But Freddie Vasseur, surely there'll be a little bit of a management change in there so that, things will be running more smoothly and we won't have as many goof ups like we did. Surely Ferrari can pull something out of a hat.
I think it takes time, but also, are they going to start focusing on getting Lewis a car for next year?
Ooh. You know what? Again, these were written well in advance of certain news stories that broke, so yeah, you do have a point there. We will see. We will see. I'm ready for it, but I would love to see them be first place in the Constructors, if nothing else. And on to the final question. Who is going to win it all? Who is going to be the winner of the Drivers' Championship? 10 points for correct answer, 5 points if you guess the correct team. If for some reason that you want to pick Checo for some reason.
I have chosen... it's Max.
I'm not even going to cut like a pause and let you explain. It's Max. It's got to be Max. It's like we both know it. It's going to be Max.
I feel like, will Max's reign come to an end? Yes. I think it's after the regulation change. I think Red Bull just has the advantage. I think Max has proven that he can drive the car. So I think until 2025, it's going to be Max. Because 1, regulation changes, and 2, Ford is going to be awful, and we know it. So
I think at least regulation changes. We'll see how the Lewis Ferrari situation goes. That will be an interesting shakeup. I genuinely didn't expect that to happen. So we'll see, next year, if we do this, what things are going to be like. But
yep, like I said, it's all, again, I've been calling it blind prediction because, again, this is for, and in case anything changes, I will, pull the curtain back. It is February 14th when we've recorded this, so obviously stuff has happened previously, but we still have another 2 weeks, a week before testing, 2 weeks before GP starts, so we might be in for it.
Yeah, we might both walk out of this with 0 points. And you know what? That would be the most exciting season that has ever happened in Formula One, I feel like, if we both end up with 0 points. Yep.
And only time will tell. Like I said.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of waiting and hopefully a whole lot of finding out.
Hopefully not a fucking around, it's just finding out.
Well, I mean, Gunther's gone, so there's not a whole lot of fucking around.
Yep. All right, and that, so yep, 20, there are 20 predictions, 19 of which can make us, I said, a friendly competition. We're not going to be fighting each other.
Oh, yeah, no. It's just for, at this point, it's just for bragging rights. I was like, I don't really have anything put in there as a, oh, this is your prize or anything. It's just bragging rights. Haha, I got, 2 points more than you, sort of thing.
We'll put on there's a dry erase board. We'll put on the dry erase board.
Yes.
All right, I think that is about it. Let us know if you guys have any predictions or think we're just completely lost and out of touch, because probably.
I mean, surely some of y'all are Williams fans. Everyone's a Williams fan.
Mm-hmm. Who else are you going to cheer for? You got to have it. Even if their tracksuits are something else this year, which we can talk about if you'll join us probably on the next episode. We're going to go over all the liveries. Of course, at the time of recording this, we are only waiting on Red Bull, which is probably going to be the same car that Red Bull always does.
The Red Bull from last year.
Mm-hmm. So, but make sure you join us for that, as well as I think we're going to do rating the drivers' logos. There are some interesting ones out there, and I figured we would take a look at that and just kill some time before preseason testing. And finally, the 2024 season kicks off in Bahrain.
Bahrain!
I was like, anything else we got to go over, or shall we just move on to the next?
I think that's it. That'll conclude the blind predictions, and I hope to see y'all here for the next one.
Yep. And to make sure you're here for the next one, again, DSQ Pod in the podcast player you're listening to us on YouTube. Again, Apple, or not Apple, soon, maybe, hopefully, if it stops being weird. But Spotify, Google/YouTube, Amazon, and of course, RSS feed is available on our site, dsqpod.com. That should be everything. We'll roll the outro.
Bye!
Follow the pod everywhere at DSQ Pod, and follow the crew at Medic50 and at Kody30.